and welcome to our 5th class together. Today's class is just going to be a slow morning yoga sequence. So ideally done straight after you've rolled out of bed. So roll out of bed and onto the mat or onto a towel on the floor, and grab yourself a pillow or a block. I'm just sitting on a yoga block today. You could use a book if you didn't have one of those. So it's a great class to just get the day going and ease into the morning. So we'll get started by coming to a cross-legged position or sitting on your knees, and then we'll bring our hands onto our thighs and we'll close down the eyes. So we're going to make sure that we're sitting up nice and straight, shoulders are relaxed, and we'll release some of the tension in our jaw. Eyes are closed if we can. Then we're just going to take some big rolls with the shoulders. So we'll roll the shoulders all the way up to the ears and then we'll push them all the way down. So we'll do a few in one direction and then we'll roll them the other way. And we'll allow them to settle. And then we'll take our focus to our breath. So we'll take our focus to a place in the body where we can connect with the breath. So that might be the rise and fall of the belly or the rise and fall of the chest. It could be at the back of the nose where the air becomes the breath. Anywhere in the body where you can feel the breath happening. We'll see if we could take our full attention there. Remember, shoulders are relaxed. Completely relax the face. Sitting up nice and tall, nice and straight. We'll take a few moments with this focus. Just remembering it's completely normal for the mind to kind of wander off. And just grab it back, bring it back onto that focus that you've chosen this morning. So we're not changing the breath here. We're just sitting with exactly how the breath is and seeing if we can notice and connect with the breath here. And then we'll open the eyes, we'll take a nice big stretch up, maybe have a big yawn if you want one. I'm going to take our left hand over onto the floor and we're just going to take a big reach over to that left hand side. Just whatever feels most appropriate in your body this morning. And then we'll come over to the other side, big stretch over to the right. Okay, one more each side, so big stretch over to the left. And then big stretch over to the right. Okay, so we're going to bring our arms into what I call our cactus arms. So our elbows are the same height as our shoulders, and we're just going to do some little twists. And so we're going to turn and look round to us to our left, and then we'll turn and look round to the right. So maybe feel a little bit silly the first couple that you do. This is really great for working on releasing some of the tension in the neck and the shoulders. So we'll take our gaze with us over to the side behind us each way. Okay, 2 more. Okay, and then we're going to take our arms above our head and we're just going to take our gaze up if that's comfortable in the neck, and we're just going to open and close our hands really fast as we can. And then we'll bring them out in front and do the same, opening and closing, nice and fast. Okie dokie. So we'll raise both of our arms again. And this time we'll take our right hand onto our left thigh and our left hand onto our lower back, and we're twisting around to the left. Our spine is up really nice and straight, and we can take our gaze quite far to the back wall, or if that's uncomfortable, we can just keep our neck round a little further to the right. So just finding a place where it feels the most natural in your body. Okay, we'll raise the arms back to center. Left hand comes onto right thigh this time. Right hand comes onto the lower back. And we'll twist around to the right this time. Gaze comes behind us maybe, if that's comfortable with the neck. Take a nice big deep breath here. Nice straight spine, crown of the head really reaching up towards the ceiling. Okay, we'll reach our arms up and we'll come back to center. And we'll pop away the book or the block or the pillow we've been sitting on, and we're going to come into our downward facing warrior. So we're going to have our knees as wide as the mat, our toes come to touch, and we're going to walk our hands forward and then allow our forehead to come onto the mat. And if our forehead doesn't reach the mat, let's just grab a block or a book or a cushion and just pop that underneath. Let's allow the hips to be really nice and heavy. Take a few slow breaths here. Relax the shoulders if you can. And then we'll walk our hands all the way to the left-hand side of the mat. Nice big stretch on the right-hand side of the body. Okay, through to the center, over to the other side this time. Nice big stretch. Breathing into that side body. Okay, we're going to come up into our tabletop position so that our knees and our hips are in line with each other. And then we're going to come into a pose called our puppy pose. So we can bring our forearms onto the mat first, and then we're going to reach our arms out all the way. This can be quite strong on the shoulders, and we'll bring our forehead onto the mat. Big stretch for the shoulders here. Let's see if we can keep our hips above our knees. We'll take a few breaths here. If that's really uncomfortable, you could take hold of opposite elbows and bring the forehead onto the forearms. If that was a little bit too much for the shoulders this morning. Okay, we'll come back to that tabletop position. So roughly we have our alignment, shoulders, elbows and wrists. Fingers are spread really nice and wide. We'll start with the left arm. We're going to raise the left arm up towards the ceiling, and then we're going to loop it through onto the floor. Take the left side of the head to the floor, and then we're going to flow through a few times here. So left hand reaches up, and it kind of threads through underneath that arm. We'll do 2 more of those, up and through. Okay, and then up and through. And then this time we're going to stay here for a couple of breaths. We might like to straighten the right arm. I'm going to take a few breaths here. We're just opening up through the shoulders, waking up the upper body for the day ahead. We'll see if we could focus on the place in the body where we can connect with the breath still. Okay, let's come back to our tabletop, and this time we'll go on the other arm. So right arm raises all the way up, and it loops through, side of the head comes onto the mat, back of the hand onto the floor. We'll do a few of those. Maybe you could take your gaze up towards the hand when you come up, if that's comfortable in the neck. Okay, following through. One more. Okay, we're reaching up, and then this time we're going to stay here for a few breaths. Again, remember that you can stretch that left arm out. Take the side of the head onto the mat. Close down the eyes if you're comfortable. Take a few deep breaths here. Maybe seeing if you could breathe into the belly. Okay, we'll come back up to our tabletop. And then if we remember, we just need to take our hands about 1 hand span in front of where they are now. And we can tuck our toes and come into our downward facing dog. So we're going to tuck the toes, hips, push all the way back. Nice big bend in the knees, especially for this first one today. And then we're going to raise our left leg, bring that between the hands and drop the back knee. So we're not staying in that downward facing dog long this morning. So we're going to bring our fingertips either side of that front foot and we'll keep our gaze down low. And you might find that you need to walk this right knee back a little bit further to feel like you're getting more of a stretch, or you might need to walk it a little bit closer if you've come a bit too far with that back knee. Otherwise, we'll keep our gaze just at the front of our mat or just onto the floor in front of us. We'll take a few breaths. Remember, relax the shoulders. And we might actually need one of our props. So you might like to grab your book or your pillow or whatever it was that you were using. Bring that to the front. And we're going to walk that left foot out. We're going to come to something called our lizard pose. So we're walking that left foot out just as far as is comfortable on the hip. So we could have our fingertips on the mat. We could have our palms on the mat, or we could use our prop and we could maybe come onto our forearms if we felt quite comfortable there. Just choosing an option that works well for you, or you could bring your forearms all the way down onto the mat if you felt like you had lots of space there. So we'll come to a place that feels quite comfortable, and we're going to stay here for a few breaths. So we'll keep our gaze just down on the floor in front of us. Really strong stretch here. Focusing on the breath and just coming back to the sensations in the body or the sensation of the breath when we get lost. One more breath. Okay, we'll walk that left foot back in. Hands either side of the front foot. We'll ground the hands. Left foot comes back. Pushing the hips back, we'll bring our right leg through for our lizard pose on the other side. So we'll first of all take a few moments, just in our runner's lunge actually. Keep our gaze down low, roughly have some alignment between our knee and our ankle. Let's take a few breaths here. Nice, big, long, slow exhale. And then we'll walk our foot out towards the right. We could bring our hands onto the mat. We could be on our fingertips. Remember, we could have a prop and come onto our forearms here. Whichever felt most normal or most comfortable. We'll keep our gaze down low, and again, we'll focus on the breath. You're doing a great job. Take a few breaths here. Okay, we're going to walk that foot back into the middle, hands come either side of that front foot, and then we're going to bring that right leg back and we're going to come into our tabletop. We can pop that prop off to the side, we're not going to need it. We're back into our tabletop, and we're going to take our hands, another 1 hand span in front, and we're going to lower ourselves down onto our belly. So we'll keep our elbows really close to the body, and we're simply going to lower ourselves down. We're going to come onto our forearms here. So our feet could either be touching or they might be about hip width apart, but we don't want them any wider than that. So we can bring our hands, our forearms, onto the mat, our palms really nice and wide, or if it's more comfortable in the body, we could take hold of opposite elbows. So wherever you decide to come here, we want to make sure this feels quite nice and comfortable in the upper back, in the neck. So we're going to stay here for quite a few long breaths. This is our Sphinx pose. I just want to make sure that you're nice and comfortable here. If there's any sharp pains or sensations, please just come out, bring your forehead onto the mat and lay down for a few breaths until we're over with the pose. Otherwise, we're going to take the gaze just in front of the mat, maybe even to the wall in front of us. We can be pushing our hands down into the mat. With roughly some alignment here with our elbows and our shoulders. I'm going to take a few breaths. Really simple pose. It's a little bit of a back bend. Can be nice to do in the morning. Okay, we'll try and see if we can be breathing in and out through the nose, which is usually how we breathe in our yoga class. Okay, just a few more breaths here. You're doing a great job. Okay, and then we're going to lower all the way down. Bring our hands underneath our head, make a little pillow, take our head over to the right. And we'll just take a breath here. Nice big inhale, nice big long slow exhale. One more, nice big inhale, nice long slow exhale. Okay, great. We're going to come into our child's pose for just a moment to kind of counter pose that little back bend. So we'll bring our hips back onto our heels, arms out in front or down by the side, and we'll bring our forehead onto the mat or onto a prop or a block if we have one. Let's take a few deep breaths here. Relax the shoulders. Okay, and then we're going to come to lay on our backs. I'm going to bring the soles of our feet to the floor. Our arms down by our sides, palms facing down. And we'll have some rough alignment between our heels and our knees. We're going to come into our bridge pose. So we'll make sure that while we're in this pose that we don't look from side to side. And that's just to make sure that we keep our neck nice and safe. So it's just a safety point there. Otherwise, as we inhale, on our next inhale, we can raise our hips up as high as we can, and we might bring the hands underneath the body. We could even bring the palms of the hands together so that they're touching. And we're just lifting the hips up. Gaze stays up towards the ceiling, remember. The heels of the feet are pushing into the mat, and our heels should not be any wider than our hips. We'll take a few breaths here. Inhale, nice long slow exhale. You can come down anytime you need to. Okay, and we'll all lower down. And take one big breath here. Nice big long slow exhale, and then it's up to you if you'd like to come into the pose one more time, or you could just take a little break here. So you might like to inhale, raise the hips up. Remember, hands could be pushing into the mat, or you could take hold of opposite palms. Gaze is up towards the ceiling, chin is tucked slightly, feet are pushing into the mat, really nice strong hips. You're doing a great job here. Okay, wonderful. One more breath if you can. And then we'll lower down, lower the hips down. And we'll bring our heels about as wide as the mat. And we can lower our arms, and we can just allow our knees to fall from one side to the other. Called our windscreen wiper knees. And just loosening off any tension in our low back that we might have created. Okay, so we'll bring the sole of the left foot onto the floor, and we're going to take hold of the back of the right thigh. So we're turning the toes towards the knee. Pulling the toes towards the knee. Shoulders are nice and relaxed here. We can keep our gaze up towards the ceiling, or we can close down the eyes. And it doesn't matter, it's important to say it doesn't matter how straight the leg is here. So if you need to have the heel a little bit closer to the floor and just take a looser grip on the back of the hamstring, that's completely fine. Or if you need to have more of a bend in the knee, that's not a problem. It's really normal for the leg to be a bit shaky here, especially if you have either tight hamstrings or maybe tired hamstrings if you've been doing a lot of exercise. Okay, and we'll swap to the other leg. Hands behind the left thigh, or remember, heel could be a lot further to the ground, or you could have quite a big bend in the knee. So either of those options, toes pulling back towards the knee. We'll take a few breaths, shoulders relaxed, remember. Nice big exhale. Eyes can close down if you feel comfortable. Okay, and then we're going to bring both knees into the chest. Maybe roll up into a little ball. Maybe you can bring the forehead towards the knees. Have a little roll around. And then we might rock and roll up to a seat. So you might rock and roll up a few times. And we're going to come to the middle of our mat. And you might like to come to sit on our prop, one of the props that we used earlier. And we're going to bring our heels out as wide as we can. And so if we're using a prop, we'll just see how that works for us today. Toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. And we're just going to sit up really nice and straight. So toes are pointing up. We're looking for a good stretch on the inside of our thighs here. So opening up the heels as wide as feels comfortable. We'll bring our hands down by the sides of our body. We're going to relax the shoulders and close down the eyes if we're comfortable. Taking a few breaths here. Nice big long slow exhale. Just allowing a little bit of time for the stretch to have some effect. Make sure that you're sitting up really nice and tall, nice straight spine, crown of the head reaching towards the ceiling. Shoulders are relaxed. Okay, and then when we're ready, we're going to open up the eyes and bring the legs back together, and we'll bring the soles of the feet together this time. And we can have the knees quite close to the body. Our knees might be up quite high. If that's a bit uncomfortable, you could pop some pillows or some props onto the knees. And we could have our hands on our ankles and just sit up really nice and tall, relax the shoulders. That might be the most beneficial place for you to stay if you're feeling a bit tight and a bit stiff this morning. Otherwise, you could bring your hands around your toes, and we'll keep our spine relatively straight. It can round over a little bit, and we could take our gaze down to the floor, or if you felt like you wanted to come further, you could come down a little further, maybe even using your elbows to help your knees come closer to the floor. We just make sure that we're not kind of rounding down too much, so we still have quite a lot of space in the shoulders, the neck, the spine. And then we'll close down the eyes one more time. Take a few breaths here. If this was far too difficult, you could bring the heels on the feet a little bit further forward. Nice long slow exhale. Again, focusing on where in the body you can feel the breath. Okay, wonderful. We're going to come back up nice and slowly. We can pop that prop off to the side that we've been sitting on one, and we'll again come to lay on our back. So we're coming into our final pose, our Shavasana. So we'll come to lay on the back. We'll allow the feet to be wider than the hips if we feel comfortable. Allow the legs to relax. Arms come down by the sides, and the palms face up towards the ceiling. We'll relax the shoulders. And remember, closing down the eyes completely here. And this is our rest pose, when we kind of just let everything go and allow a moment for the practice, for all of those stretches to kind of settle in. So just seeing if we could relax the whole body. You might start from the toes. So relaxing the toes and the whole of the feet. Maybe the shins, the calves, the knees. Relaxing the thighs and the area around the hips. The lower back and the belly. The upper back and the chest, the shoulders, the tops of the arms, the forearms, the hands and all of the fingers all relaxed, the neck and the head, the whole body is completely relaxed here. Relax the whole body. And we'll just rest here just for a little while longer. Just allowing the whole body to relax. Make sure there's no tension in the face or the jaw. And then we might start to wiggle the fingers and the toes. We'll take a big stretch, maybe even a big yawn, waking the body up. Maybe lifting up the knees, rolling into a kind of ball. Whatever feels like it works for you today. And then we'll rock and roll or help ourselves up just to a comfortable seat. Just for one more minute. You can cross the legs or come to sit on our knees. We might like to keep the eyes closed. We'll inhale, raise the arms up, bring the palms together and then down through center. We'll do 2 more of those. Inhale the arms up and down through center. 1 more, inhale the arms up. And then we'll bring them to our heart center in our prayer position. And you might like to join me by bowing your head and saying Namaste. Namaste. Thanks for joining me for this morning class this morning. Hopefully you're ready for the rest of the day ahead now, feeling a little bit more calm, a little bit more connected and a little bit more relaxed in your body. I hope you enjoyed the class. If you did, feel free to leave me a comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of these videos. And I'll see you again soon. Thank you.